Caitlyn Jenner, Michael Jackson, O.J. Simpson. These are my heroes. These are the men and women who act as my patron saints, inspiring me in my everyday life. Why? Because they're the goddamn greatest, that's why. Each of them found something and became the best there ever was at it. Caitlyn, as fast as a car on foot in her prime, became a master of gross motor skills. Michael, the king of pop and the voice of a generation, touched the lives of millions of young people across the world. And OJ, with the strength and determination of an ox, took down anything and anyone that stood in the way of his dreams. And the best part is, their accomplishments are recorded and immortalized in history. Nobody can ever say, OJ never did this, OJ couldn't do that, because look at all of the evidence. Of course he did it. There's no doubt in my mind he did it. And I want to be able to say the same thing about myself. I want to become good at something and document it for the world to see, but the only question is, what? What would I become good at? If only there were references to a very specific game that I'd placed in previous videos that I could, I don't know, flash back to. I usually hate the get good mentality.
I don't love Dark Souls though.
This spider doesn't hold my interest. This one does. Well, that was poorly executed. But it's true. If I'm ever gonna live up to the legacy of my heroes, my only way of doing it is by... Really? You're just gonna cut me off the title screen? That's kind of an asshole thing to do. Hey, you know what, man? Suck my dick. It's no secret that I don't like Dark Souls. In fact, you might go as far as to say that I hate this game. Because I do. I just don't get why people say these games are fun. Dark Souls is fun in the same way that going through the 5 stages of grief is fun. It's just pain and suffering at different degrees until it's over. Which is why my only goal is to beat it, a phrase which applies to many different aspects of my life. When I say get good at the game, I mean I'm simply gonna complete the game. You can't expect the guy who thought Pikmin 1 was difficult to become skilled at Dark Souls. The bar is set incredibly low, but that's alright because I'm the one setting it. One of my biggest complaints about Dark Souls has always been how insane the lore is, which is why I just love the fact that the game starts with an exposition dump. The game tells its lore like that one coworker who just assumes you know all their friends and refers to them all by first names only when telling stories. You can't just name drop the Chaos Witch of Izalith and not elaborate. Also, there's like no consistency between the names in this game. One second they're hitting you with Gwyn, Lord of Cinder and Slayer of the Dragons, and the next you've got Big Hat Logan. Big Hat Logan. Jesus Christ, this game. Yeah, guys, I'd like you to meet my new Dark Souls OC, a tight pants Jake. I personally love games that use their environment and their setting to communicate the lore of the game, a lot like what is done in the vaults in Fallout New Vegas, and what pisses me off is that Dark Souls actually does this really well. Sometimes. The game never outright tells you, but the guy who gives you your Estus flasks is sitting in a hole in the wall next to a giant steel ball near an enemy who rolls metal balls downstairs at you. It's implied that the guy got crushed by this ball, and it's all communicated to you in-game without any dialogue. This is cool, and I wish Dark Souls would do this more, but whatever. I'm not out here trying to like the game, I'm just trying to get good at it. And the best way to do that is by taking on the first boss, the Asylum Demon. Ooh. Ah! Right off the bat, I noticed 2 things. 1, the combat system feels like the controls are almost intentionally broken, and 2, your character, sexually moans when he takes damage. It's actually really odd. But back to the combat. Everything from swinging your sword to rolling away from attacks feels incredibly delayed, but almost as if it's meant to be that way. You almost have to predict the next move of your enemy before they even make it to compensate for the delay, making encounters incredibly intense. I wasn't able to do this. Yeah, for some reason during the first part of the game, I just could not get the timing down, and I kept getting slaughtered by everything from sword-swinging skeletons to bosses built like a Pixar mom, because my only strategy was to just keep blindly throwing myself at enemies and mashing the light attack button like I was throwing shit at the fan to see what stuck. And sure, this strategy did eventually work against the Asylum Demon, but it served no use when facing more than one enemy at a time like you do in the Undead Burg, which really pissed me off. So naturally, I did what any gamer would do. I started cheating. That is, if you consider using the internet cheating. See, there was no way I was going to be able to beat this game without the help of the wiki. And my friend Ryan. Hi, Ryan. Hi, Ryan. And the main takeaway I got from these sources was to cheese the game as much as possible. So from the Undead Asylum all the way to the Undead Parish, I focused on hiding in tunnels where large enemies couldn't reach me and jumping off towers to deal as much damage as possible in one blow. It's how I beat the Taurus Demon, it's how I beat the Iron Swine, and it definitely set me up for failure. By the time I reached the end of the Undead Parish, I found myself in this neat little church that was full of shield-wielding spear spammers that could block all of my wildly timed attacks, which made them incredibly difficult to defeat. I mean, yeah, there were still enemies that didn't have shields, but they were crammed so closely into tiny rooms that even if you were able to start attacking them, you'd get crushed like you were a Who fan in Chicago in 1979. And don't even get me started on the boss.
Come on, strength of OJ, speed of Caitlyn. There's 2 of them?
I was stuck in an area of the game where cheesing or just playing blind offense only worked like 50% of the time, which made the game feel incredibly unfair because I wasn't playing the game the way it's supposed to be played. But the really wacky part is that I couldn't even play the game the right way even if I wanted to. It's damned if you do, damned if you don't. Damn it, it can't just be me, right? Am I crazy? Am I crazy for thinking that this isn't fun? To throw yourself against the same low-level enemies who can drop you in like 3 hits because you didn't hit the parry button at the exact same frame of their attack over and over and over again? No, like honestly, is it wrong of me to want a game where I can actually do damage to an enemy and not have to worry about my attack not landing because I was 2 centimeters off from being directly behind them? Because I really feel like that isn't that big of a fucking— Oh shit, never mind. Take a look at this man. Really get a good look at him. Scan him up and down thoroughly because this is the man who changed the course of my playthrough. These enemies with the swords with a name that I don't want to risk mispronouncing have such a long and obvious attack animation before their attack that I was actually able to parry them, which eventually led me to parrying other enemies' attacks and learning how to backstab and how to read animations, and suddenly I was spending a lot more time actually playing the game instead of getting frustrated, and I started to notice things that I liked. Like, the world design is actually exceptionally done, and the armor sets are some of the coolest I've seen in a video game, and God, the music? The music is absolutely incredible. It can range anywhere from pensive and melancholic to epic and horrific all at the same time. It's insane. I got good enough to eventually beat the Bell Brothers, and as I kept progressing in the game from the Undead Burg to Darkroot Garden, I slowly started to realize that I couldn't stop thinking about the game, even when I wasn't playing it. At work, in the car, at friends' houses, in bed, no matter where I was, all I could think about was how I could farm souls better, or what technique might work best for taking down a boss, and slowly but surely I started to realize that I actually might love the game.
Are you kidding me?
No, because you know what? That's not even the bullshit part. The game telegraphs the fact that there's a fall ahead with its sound design, and honestly, I probably should have expected some shit like that from Dark Souls. No, you wanna know what the bullshit part is? The fact that I still wanna keep playing. No matter how many souls I lose because I got swarmed by rats, or how many times I rolled off the edge of a cliff, or how many times I wasted hours in an area I wasn't high enough level to enter, I keep coming back. This game isn't evil or unfair or anything. This game is toxic. So then I did it. I beat the butterfly, the sewer lizard, and the dual-wheeled demon, and I started to feel pretty damn good about myself. Also, genuinely, none of that end stuff would have been possible if I wasn't shown this soul farm area where the game just lets you cheese enemies off the edge of a cliff for an easy 2,000 souls, so thank you, Dark Souls. And Ryan. Thank you, Ryan. Thank you, Ryan. And all of this led me to one of the most dreaded areas in the game, Blighttown. Everybody sucks for lying to me. Blighttown was like the easiest area in the game. You can just run past all these enemies like it's an episode of Scooby-Doo. Except the big guys, they're fun to fight. It's definitely a bit difficult to navigate with all the bridges overlapping, but you do have to at least appreciate the basic look of the area. It's such a cool idea to have a seedy underbelly of diseased degenerates living in hanging lean-tos beneath bridges. It's like the medieval version of the Julia Tuttle Causeway sex offender colony, but with regular diseased people instead of mentally diseased people. Also, spider titties. And honestly, Sen's Fortress might have been one of my absolute favorite areas in the game. There's something so fun about the whole medieval Indiana Jones thing this dungeon had going on, and I love the design of it. I don't know why, but everything here is so pretty for some reason, and the enemies were so funny looking, and I got to meet Big Hat Logan, so it was overall very exciting. Even the boss was weirdly fun to fight. And he was probably the last one I enjoyed. See, you spend a lot of the game fighting up through the kingdom, ultimately leading you to Anorlando, leave me alone, which is this immaculate city devoid of the ruin and destruction found in the lower cities, which is really fun. But as per usual, just when I found myself enjoying the game, I got shot back down to earth and straight into hell, this time populated by Smo and Ornstein, which sounds like a couple of attorneys at law, and like real-life lawyers, these two drained me of all of my resources. I am not even kidding. I spent 15 humanity trying to fight these guys. 15! Why was I using humanity? Because I was summoning Solaire to help me in the fight. But you know what? don't even feel bad about it, because if the game's gonna throw 2 bosses at me, I should have the right to bring a partner of my own. After this, I saw some breasts, killed a dog, and realized that I really just wanted this game to end already. If you charted my enjoyment of the game across my playthrough, it looked like an electrocardiogram output of a patient suffering a panic attack, with the highs being getting to a new area and the lows being encountering the boss. But at this point, my graph was that of a patient who died a long time ago. It's not like the areas weren't cool, they were still visually interesting, even if the texture sometimes looked like the burnt bottom of a George Foreman grill, but I just didn't have any will to go on. Normally in a game like this, when the gameplay loop starts to get repetitive, you're motivated to push through the monotony to accomplish whatever your goal in the game is, to see your mission through, but the problem with this is that I barely know what my mission is. All I know is I have to kill Gwyn, and I only know that because the John Hurt Penis Dog told me that 2/3 of the way through the game. God, it's even got shaft veins. There are no character relationships that I want to see resolved, I'm not invested in a protagonist's character arc, so I'm not really sure what the point of going on is. I don't want to fight bosses that sound like something a gynecologist would diagnose you with, or bosses that have a worse camera than Sonic 06. I just want it to be over. At this point, I really started to dislike the game, which is why I'm so glad they ended with Gwyn. Gwyn is unlike any boss I've ever faced, not only in Dark Souls, but in video games in general. Every other boss you face is accompanied by this orchestral and operatic soundtrack, which intensifies the combat and instills you with a sense of sheer panic, but Gwyn is instead fought with a simple, melancholic piano theme. His movements are slow and pensive, and you get the feeling as though he's old and doesn't even want to fight any longer. You're led to believe that he's the villain of the story, the man who made the decrepit world you just fought through, and yet you almost feel bad fighting him in the end. I felt no relief when I beat him like I did when I beat the Asylum Demon. I felt something closer to guilt than I did accomplishment. For a game as bombastic as Dark Souls, the ending was subtly beautiful as you bring light and fire, the symbol of respite and peace which you've sought after this whole game, to the kiln of the first flame, a kingdom-sized bonfire in which you fight Gwyn, potentially implying a brighter future for the world. As much as I thought I hated this game, the ending really made me reconsider my feelings. I mean, realistically, there isn't really another gaming experience like this. I'll never forget how I felt the first time I realized that the entire world was one giant interconnected kingdom which I could access from any point, and there honestly is no feeling that rivals the relief of beating a boss. Everything from the music to the level design borders on masterful at times, and even the lore, as confusing as it might be, is pretty fascinating, and you at least have to have some level of respect for the work that went into creating it. I came here to simply finish the game, and I think I walked away a fan. I don't know about you, but I think my patron saints will be proud of me.
Wait, they did what?
Michael! Don't leave me here! Michael! Michael! Help me!
And I want to be able to say the same thing about myself. Oh my god. I don't know what's happening to me.
I don't want to scream.
I was gonna scream, I'm not gonna scream. I'll record the scream later. Here's a replacement scream. Here's a filler scream. Ah! Smells like popcorn in here. Holy... I wasn't able to do this. It's me, Barack. My fellow Americans. That's just Markiplier. Can I talk to the man who wrote this shit? Melancholy. That's it. I think I hated this one.